Yes, like people were grieving, people weren't playing to the best of their potential, to the best of their ability. Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Leven podcast. I'm your beautiful, humble, gracious, amazing, the best host, Leven2K. Missed me, we're back with another episode. Last episode, I was joined by a beautiful young lady. She, for reasons that are probably just not best to discuss, couldn't be here today. And then I was going to be with a beautiful young Irishman, but we recorded that. Some complications happened. I had a bit of a delay, and I was just like, let me just crank this out myself. It shouldn't be too long. I'm going to try to keep these relatively short. I'm going to do one of these after every FNCS week. This one should be coming out on a Tuesday, but the plan will be for them to come out on Monday. So apologies for the delay if you were waiting. Let's just get right into things, right? Obviously, FNCS was this weekend. We had the first week of the qualifiers. Obviously, round 1, round 2, round 3 were not broadcasted, but round 4 was. And I got a chance to be on a broadcast, guys. I made my debut. It was fun. I had Zeke and Reese on the desk with me. Shayo and Sancho casting was great. And it was nice to finally be a part of the broadcast. It felt good. I think I enjoyed it a lot, and looking forward to the next coming weeks and eventually the grand finals. When it comes to the actual games, though, I think it was interesting. I think let's just get this out of the way. Yes, like people were grieving, people weren't playing to the best of their potential, to the best of their ability. It is pretty unfortunate. I guess the nature of the current qualifier structure, whatever you want to call it, means that players just felt there was no incentive to really play their best in round 4. You're seeing people taking, fights in congested edge zone, second zone, and it's like, you guys are obviously not playing properly, that kind of thing. And for that reason, there were a bunch of teams who I expected to do well, who, as a result of it, just probably didn't, right? A lot of teams, you're making storm surge plans based off of how you expect a team to rotate, right, out of their POI, etc. Okay, based on this zone, this team's probably going to rotate that way, so if we get up on this hill at this time, we can get some tags on them, that kind of thing. And that goes completely out the window, right, when you just have people just absolutely playing in a way that is just nothing like a competitive lobby. And to be fair, the end games were not bad, but it's just early and mid game was just a bit shambles. And maybe a bit is maybe an understatement. However, though, we did still have some interesting things to discuss, right? There were still a lot of interesting things to discuss. If you want more thoughts in detail about more of my thoughts in detail about format, whatever, I was live today, so you can go back and watch that in the Twitch VOD. Twitch.tv/Leven2K. How about that? Go give that a watch. So when it comes to Osborne stuff, right, coming into this week of round 4 specifically, when you looked at all the teams, I actually believed the strongest team was Savage, Airdrop, and Tayson. I think coming into it, I believed they were probably the best team in the lobby, based off of what I'd watched from them in the previous rounds. I sort of had to clarify this as well, right, to some other people. Before this weekend, right, I said going into FNCS as a whole, the strongest team is Thomas and Us and Flick, right? And I still believe that. I'm still going to stand by that because all the other teams were somewhat unknown quantities, right? You have teams mixing and matching, new teams forming, and we hadn't had enough, sort of evidence of those teams being good enough or at that level of a Thomas and Us and Flick. And I still think Thomas and Us and Flick are that standard of one of the top trios, if not the best trio, right? Obviously, they didn't make it to round 4, so I had a couple people saying, Leven, what happened to your team that you said is a top team? No, they were the top team going into FNCS. All the other teams that you'd consider the top teams were either new teams or teams that had, previously had different players, I'm saying? There were unknown quantities there, right? There wasn't a large pool of, hey, this is what we are as a trio, with any other trio other than really that team, right? At that level, at least, Thomas and Us and Flick. So I'm still going to stand by that. Obviously, they weren't able to make it to weekly finals, which is unfortunate. In terms of round 4, though, I believe the strongest trio was Tayson, Airdrop, and Savage, followed closely by my man's banking, sorry, Andalex, X-Squeeze, and Snazy. Now, we quickly found out that iDrop's trio, Savage and Tayson, they weren't going to be playing to the best of their ability. We quickly found that out, right? As soon as Savage said he's streaming it, I was like, yeah, they're not playing to qualify this week. which is a shame. But if you've been paying attention to it, there are the reasons that players are doing it for, and so hopefully moving forward, it's something that we can avoid. But yeah, I think when you actually look at the Osborne stuff that was going on, Osborne, right? Even without like finding out, even without the whole like not playing seriously thing, people were actually concerned about like Savage's trio off Spawn. People were saying, hey, look, Trippin and Bad Sniper and my mind's blanked again, apologies. They're landing there, right? And like I can see that, like I can see the people I can see people's concern there. Ultimately it didn't matter, right? Because even with them not playing properly per se, they wiped Trippin's trio, and I love Trippin. Trippin's my guy. Like I actually love Trippin. Like, I used to play scrims with Trippin way back in the day, back in like FMPL snipe stage. You know, like I used to play with Trippin, so I'm good friends with Trippin. But yeah, they got completely rinsed. I think it was like 4-1, and then like one game they decided not to even bother landing there because at that point, you know, like I think the first game they lost, they died. Second game they actually took out Savage's trio. But for the most part, like, they were just getting rinsed. And like we were seeing it in other places on the map, right? Like a really interesting Osborne battle that we were all like sort of paying attention to was Stealthy, right? Because obviously Steelix snagged and Heatsy. We were expecting them to do like really good today. Obviously they were contested by Shaykos. And I'm not too sure how things ended up going there, but once again, like overall, like the performances out of them like probably wasn't as what you would have expected. You know, like Lanoof Marine, I thought Lanoof Marine and that were going to have a really good game, but I think, you know, the nature of the lobby sort of like really messed them over, right? I think the nature of the lobby just meant that like what they had envisioned the finals to be didn't play out to be that, and so they were sort of out of their depth in that sense. What happens now for these teams? Ultimately, these teams will qualify through series points as long as they can just keep making it to finals, which they probably will. So, you know, if I'm Lanoof, Marine and that, I'm not panicking because honestly, I think in a set finals lobby where everyone's trying their best, that trio is one of the better trios in EU overall. I still do believe that. Hunter's Haven uncontested for them is really good. I still do believe that. But honestly, man, if you were just watching them games, you can't sit there and tell me like those games were played out, you know, like top level. Like you can't tell me like everyone's playing to the best of their ability, and that was like the way a top level game plays out. You know, that's not the case. The way those games looked is nothing like what we'll see in grand finals per se, right? So, unfortunately, in that sense, obviously as well, a bunch of heal-offs, right? We saw Miro's trio. They were having a mad amount of heal-offs. They were initially going to be contested at Weeping, but that team dipped. I think it was Juka. Maybe that did. I can't remember who it was that did. But the team that was going to contest them dipped. So they had Weeping free. Queasy's trio also had Weeping, right? They found out. Miro and Queasy have found a way to share Weeping, which I guess is good for everyone. But interesting that 2 Weeping teams did qualify. Just saying, maybe it's a good POI. Maybe it is. Yeah, it's heal-offs. I'm not a fan. I think when you have heal-offs, like every once in a while, a heal-off is pretty cool because it catches you by surprise, right? You're not expecting it. Like we were seeing like mega long heal-offs. Like one of the Miro literally had 2 inventories worth of heals. Like it was just ridiculous. But that's what happens with that kind of point format. Like when you have a point format where it does just jump so much, right? Like, you know, 4th to 17th place, you get 1 point per placement, right? And then all of a sudden 3rd, you get a jump of +6, right? Like everybody wants to get that jump, right? You want to fight for those extra placement points that come with a top-heavy system. And so you'll do everything that it takes, and what you do is heal off, right? So that's why we were seeing those heal offs. Hopefully, like we can see maybe like an adjustment to the point format for like semis and finals, because I think the actual point format from round 1 to 3 is actually really good. I prefer it over the round 4 format probably, just because it just doesn't lead to like the heal-offs per se, right? But yeah, so Miro, king of the heal-offs now, right? He's joined Become Floppers per se, right? In terms of like the teams towards the top of the leaderboards though, Janice, Chapix, Hen, Anderlecht, Snazy, Squeeze. Really interesting seeing those two teams doing well, man, because obviously Janice was playing with Anderlecht and Squeeze before he's left to play with Hen and Chapix. Can we just talk about Hen and Chapix for one, right? Like, Hen's form right now is, world class. I think I'm actually going to make a video about Hen this week. Because with the way Hen's form is right now, like, he has a strong argument to be called the best player in the world, honestly. Like, he genuinely does have, like, a strong argument to be called that. Whether you agree or disagree, sure. But, like, the proof's in the pudding for Hen. Chapix has just been lighting the world on fire as well. He's just up to gear in his gameplay. I don't know what's happened, but he's just turned into this new sort of Master Uguay's really like harnessed his inner self, and he's come out firing. Janice as well is great for these guys, right? Because Janice is a really good tarper. I didn't actually know how good of a tarper Janice is because when he was playing with Anderlecht usually tarped. But Janice is a really good tarper, right? And it just allows Hen and Chapix to just go off. But right, that's when they're playing mid ground and shit, right? When they're on a height, they just clean the lobby out. Like, they are cleaning the lobby out. And they were on height quite a few times, right? In the course of those 6 or so games. So they did really good. Anderlecht, I think Anderlecht's team like were most people's favorites going in. I predicted that Anderlecht's team would win. I did a pre-show before the broadcast went live, and when I did the pre-show, I said I thought Anderlecht's team would win. Obviously, they didn't win; they came second, which obviously is not too far off. But them guys doing well was not a surprise by any means, man. If you had seen how they'd been playing throughout the other rounds, they adapt so well. They're so high skilled. The way they play was like they're like playing like dead side, playing late rotations, that kind of thing, but just working really well. Late height takes, right? Like taking height from backside of the zone. Anderlecht is so good at it. When they're on the height, you're not really going to get them off most of the time. Speaking of height though, right? Obviously we had the FNCS duo console champion, Leven. He came in, right? He's playing with Kaizen and Yzip. I love their names, by the way. Leven, Kaizen, Yzip. Like, that sounds great. We need to find something creative with that. They are really good. Hydro 16 is working well for them, right? Splitting down Hydro 16, whatever it is they're doing. Getting the RPG is really good for them. They're like they're doing what you'd expect the RPG team to do. Like, the Hydro 16 RPG has been in the game since the beginning of the season, right? Like, it's been for a while, but no teams, to me at least, have been like, I expected that Hydro 16 team to impact the lobby significantly, right? Like, to be like a main talking point. It's not really been that, right? It's only just becoming that now. Stompy, Pink, that trio, right? They are doing a great job at Hydro 16. Obviously, I was a bit surprised they didn't call because I think they're really good. But they're one of the only teams that is like notably good with the RPG and EU at least, right? But Kaizen, Lizen, Yzip, they did a great job. They were honestly super impressive. How that now plays out, like, it's going to be interesting because I honestly see all the like good Hydro 16 teams, I can see them making semis. And so if they all make semis, when it comes to finals, right, like who's gonna take it? Like who's gonna be the team that goes like, yeah, we're the Hydro 16 team? Because we saw in NA with Zate, right? Like when there's teams contesting Hydro 16, it's just AIDS. It's just absolutely AIDS. So what happens there? Interesting. I think that is one of the benefits of having a system now where, like, once you qualify, you can't play again, because it just means that now another team can walk into that POI, use it to qual, and then you meet each other eventually in the finals, maybe in the semi-finals, unlikely because of seeding, but potentially. But yeah, I think all round though, like really good stuff from a lot of these teams. I'm super impressed with Mexi, Michael, and Verix as well. The British boys, we need to show some love to those guys. Their biggest rivals in Thomas and Aston Flick didn't make it through to round 4, so they had Dirty Young Con. And I said before the show, this is going to be a big week for them. They need to just qual now, so they don't have to deal with Anas Thomas and Flick, right? They can just chill and focus on the semis. And realistically, we're going to see that battle play out in finals. Unfortunate, some might say it's unfortunate we're not going to see that battle take place until realistically finals. True, it is a bit, you could definitely say that, but I think it just makes it even better, right? Building it up. As long as we can keep building up the hype for them to battle it out in the grand finals when it matters the most, then I'm all for saving that hype, I'm all for saving that hype, seeing how that plays out, because neither team's going to leave. Neither of them will leave. Verox has been going dirty since its inception, and Thomas and Anas Flick believe they're the best trio in the world, and if you're the best trio in the world, why on earth do you have to leave your POI, right? So, big stuff all around this weekend. I'm super impressed. Obviously, I'll add a couple small things, right? I'm sure everybody wants to know, Leven, what do you think of Mongrel, Mitro, Benji, Aquasia, Wolfies? Like, what do you think's happening? Like, how do you feel about that one? At the time I'm recording this, right, MMB have played the Cash Cup. They did okay in the Cash Cup, not too bad. I think they kind of threw their top 5. And I did watch a bit. Still, Mongrel, for some reason, just doesn't want to listen to Benji and Mitro when they're making calls. He just doesn't want to listen. He just thinks, he knows best. And so how that one plays out, who knows? To me, there were 2 realistic options with them. Or to me, the most realistic option was that they're going to stay with each other. And I don't think that's the best option, right? It only becomes the best option if they are actively seeking the help of a coach. So if they have Destiny Jesus helping them, or maybe Colin helping them, or somebody who is knowledgeable about the game helping them, because they need coaching. I can't stress enough, they need coaching. And Mongrel just needs to put ego aside and just be a soldier. Take orders, listen and just really be a soldier. But they are going to stay with each other, which does make sense. I think it was the most realistic option. Aqua and CR are looking for a third now. Wolfies will now be playing with Lecce and Rojo. So Rojo, you got a bit of work on your hands there, a bit of babysitting to do, I think. But that trio has the potential to be good, right? Wolfies and Rojo haven't played with each other since World Cup. Since trios, actually. They did play with each other for a bit in trios, right? In Trio Season X, I believe. I believe they did. But yeah, so some work to do there. I think Wolfies, Rojo, and Mota played in trios. And then Mota left to play with Verox and Boya, I believe. Something like that. Somebody will correct me. But that trio is going to be interesting. Like I said, Lecce, Rojo, Wolfies. Rojo's got some babysitting to do. CR and Aqua looking for a third. I think the most obvious third to me would have been Benji, but obviously Benji's staying with MMB, so who they get as their third, I'm not too sure. I'm not sure who they played with. They're not on this first page, that's all I know. So, yeah, I don't know who they played with at the time of recording this, but, they need what I was just talking about before. They need a soldier, and Benji, I think, is the perfect soldier, right? Someone who's just going to listen, take orders, and execute orders well. If you've heard Aqua's comms, Aqua's incredibly demanding as an IGL. He's constantly giving instructions, telling people what to do, and so he needs people who are going to just listen, blindly listen and execute what he's asking for. So, where will they find that? Who knows? Ultimately, I'm looking forward to next week. I am looking forward to next week. Some top teams who are expected to qual didn't. Some heartbreaking quals or non-quals, right? Aqua, Wolfies and CR was a bit of a surprise, I guess. The only real surprises to me, I wasn't surprised by MMB not qualing. I'll be honest, I was not surprised. If you watch how they were in round 1, it wasn't impressive. The way they played in round 1, there was just no way they were going to make it to round 4. Thomas and Aston Flick was a surprise, right? That was a surprise for me. Nate Kezix and Forzio was a surprise. Cammy, Seti, big surprise. I'm surprised that we haven't talking about them, to be fair. There wasn't much to say. I think ultimately most people were just shocked, right? I think they just had a bit of a bad day in round 3, or about a bad session at least, and so they weren't able to make it through. But definitely a team you expect to see qualifying and doing well, because they are also probably, outside of Thomas and Aston Flick coming into FNCS, probably the one of the strongest trios, right? But yeah, they didn't qual. And then honestly, like, some people might not agree, but Stompy's trio not qualing with Pink and that not qualing, that was a surprise to me as well. But I'm sure all of these teams will bounce back. Honestly, I do believe these teams will bounce back. I'm super excited for the future of, you know, some of FNCS, what we can see out of round 2 to 3. Hopefully round 4 is not as low quality as it was, I guess, this week. But for the most part, good stuff all around. Hope you guys enjoyed listening. Be sure to like, subscribe. Let me know your thoughts on any of the things I've said down here below. Be sure to join my Discord, because I got some stuff coming with Discord soon. So join my Discord. There will be a link in the description. Follow me on Twitch, twitch.tv/Leven2k. Follow me on Twitter, Leven2k. See you guys next time.